Hi, welcome to Infodumpies. My name's Brianne. I'm autistic, I have ADHD, my pronouns are she, her, and I have a special gland behind my ears that I have because I'm bisexual, and it lets me sniff out anywhere there are really cool tote bags.
Hi, my name is Violet. My pronouns are she, her. I have ADHD, and I once joined a herd of elk and lived with them for about 5 years until I got spooked by a mountain lion. And now I'm here.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a long story. I don't really want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. If you ever want to.
Well, maybe today. I don't know. We'll talk. I'll think about it.
Maybe today. Well, today we are doing another volume of mini dumps. So if this is your first episode, usually either Violet or myself will pick a topic and we get to dump about it the whole episode. But on these, Violet and I both picked two topics that were interesting, but maybe not enough content for an entire episode. And we swap back and forth talking about mini dumps. So would you like me to get us started?
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
So I wrote a joke into our other podcast years ago, like I think season 1, where the character I voice likes looking up weird animal facts. And that's actually based on me when I get stressed or I feel like I'm going to have a meltdown and I'm in the rumble phase or something. One way that I can kind of ground myself is looking up weird animal facts, because when I go down a list, eventually there'll be something I learned that makes me forget that I'm like really not good. And I go, oh, whoa, cool. I thought I would share some weird animal facts that I learned pretty recently to take advantage of my unique grounding technique of weird animal facts, and share with you some of the wilder ones that I was impressed with, which I'll try to go through some of these pretty quickly because there's one that I learned recently that blew my mind so fucking much on this list that I feel like we're going to spend a little bit longer on it.
Yeah. And that actually works out because one of my topics is one weird animal fact that doctors don't want you to know.
Oh my God, what if I have a weird animal fact in here that is your weird animal fact?
I would be shocked. Mine is about a specific animal. So
it would be wild.
I hope it is, honestly.
Okay, so do you know what isoamyl acetate is?
Of course I do. That is a chemical for skin care.
You're a big... no. It's a chemical that you're actually a pretty big fan of. I'll go ahead and tell you. It's artificial banana flavor.
Oh, yeah. I love me some of them banana runts.
But did you know that scientists discovered that it is also the compound found in the pheromones bees release when they sting something to alert the hive of danger? So if you put, I don't know, like crushed up banana runts near a beehive, you're likely to get them to swarm.
Good to know.
So don't, if you're a beekeeper, do not eat banana runts while you're at work.
Yeah, or banana Laffy Taffy.
Yeah.
You'll not be very laughy after that. I'm just saying.
So my second animal fact: the titties on a duck-billed platypus don't have nips. Right? The titties on a duck-billed platypus don't have nips.
I don't know why.
So
that's good. That's just good.
But because of this, to give milk to their young, they secrete it from special pores in their skin. It collects in little grooves on their tummies, where they basically become little bowls for their babies to drink milk from.
Now,
and their babies are called puggles.
Puggles?
It's so good, right?
Puggles? That's such a good... Oh my
yeah.
God. I want to pet a puggle. I love a little puggle. So, okay, let me get this straight. Platypus is a mammal, right?
It is, from my understanding, one of the last closest remaining links between, I believe, reptiles and mammals. It's like they are mammals, technically.
So,
but they are so, yeah.
What you're saying is platypus are lizard men.
Kind of, but no, because they're hairy. They're a big cosmic joke, and I like them.
Got it. I love a puggle, and I love the little milk bowls that they apparently make.
Right?
That's great.
Right?
Yeah.
So the next one, horses' teeth. They take up more space in the horse's head than their brain.
They got more teeth than brain?
They got more teeth than brain. And this is a thing I already knew, but I didn't know if you knew, but their teeth don't stop growing. So they have to get them, it's a term called floated, but it's basically someone comes in there with sanding equipment and sands the teeth back down for them.
That sounds awful, frankly. I would hate to be a horse having to do that. Like, let me chew on something, like, give me a stick to chew on or something, like a hamster or a rat,
Right.
you know? Oh my gosh.
Okay, so sperm whales have accents.
Hello, top of the morning to you.
Hello, top of the morning to you.
Sperm whale.
Over here we call them jizzy bigglers.
Jizzy Biggler.
Jizzy bigglers.
Oh, Jizzy Bigglers.
Hi, I'm Jizzy Bigglers.
Hi, I'm Jizzy Bigglers. Nice to meet you. Welcome to Jizzy Bigglers Big Jizzlers Emporium.
Okay, so their accents. Scientists followed around 9 different groups of whales recording what are called codas. So basically, an utterance in human linguistics is a string of sounds that are speech. So this is the whale equivalent called a coda, which makes sense because it's whale song. And we already know that whale communication is actually very organized and not just random. There are repeatable sounds they'll do. They did this study of these 9 different groups over a period of 6 years, and they identified unique codas and assigned them to the individual whales that made them.
Interesting.
So they were able to track this whale says this catchphrase, essentially.
I was about to say, you're telling me whales have catchphrases.
Pretty much. So there were 21 unique codas, or unique coda types, and there were 2 that were dominant, and those 2 types accounted for 65% of the recorded codas. So they said these 2 phrases a bunch. Every individual in the same unit, like of those 9 units, the individuals in the units would make those 2 codas the same exact way as the other whales in their pod, right? So the thing is, sperm whales in other oceans, or even just slightly different areas of the Atlantic, because this was done in the Caribbean, they don't make those codas at all. They're regional to sperm whales in the Caribbean.
Huh. Interesting.
Some sperm whales have a Caribbean accent, and we know that.
That's awesome. So I have 2 questions about this. One, why don't we just call them jizz whales? Feels better, you know?
I know.
Yeah. Second question, if you were a whale, what would your catchphrase be? Oh, nice. Yeah, okay. I was thinking something along the lines of, is that my krill that you eating? Or something like that. You best not be eating my krill.
Put that in your blowhole and smoke it.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. What else you got?
So the final, most thoroughly fucked me up big time animal fact. When you see a picture of an anglerfish, the ones with the little lights on their head, live in the deep sea, freaky, right? Those anglerfish are always female.
Really?
Because the male anglerfish is born with a jaw too weak to bite and hunt prey, and an insatiable hunger, which will drive him to both attract and bite a female. And then he stays attached to her like a tick, and depending on the species of anglerfish, some of them will disconnect, right? And this is the sexual part. But majority of them, their mouths dissolve into the female, and they become a parasite on her.
Whoa.
With many of them dissolving completely into the female, where the only thing left is a little bump. And those bumps are very often the testicles of the male anglerfish. She absorbs his DNA, she absorbs his organs, if he's still technically a living thing on his own, he relies on her blood for nutrients completely. And then she can have up to 8 males attached to her at one time.
Listen.
And for a while, scientists didn't know about male anglerfish because they just saw these bumps and thought they were bumps on the female. They were so confused as to what the male anglerfish were like, and they were attached to the female the whole time. And then the other thing they don't understand is that the female anglerfish, when this happens, like stops producing T cells, basically, loses her own immune system, but they haven't figured out how she's compensating for it, because she loses her immune system but doesn't immediately die from the first thing she comes into contact with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So clearly something else is making up for it, but her immune system she had before this is not the same. And then when she collects their testicles, she can just save those to decide to fertilize her own eggs at her earliest convenience.
So, I have
Yeah.
many questions.
Yeah.
So, female anglerfish says, "Oop, got your nuts," and then the rest of them just fucking gets Thanos snapped.
So from what I understand, that is some species of anglerfish. In other species, you do see the rest of the little small beta male wiggling around.
So, whoever designed these fish, if you believe in a grand design,
Yeah.
fucked up. Hey man, take a break. You've been doing this too long. It's fucked up. You fucked up with these ones. You did these fish bad.
Leave them in the deep sea where they are.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with them.
Yeah, that's reason number 1,457 to not go in the ocean. Consider
It's
that.
mostly mostly the deep sea that's real fucked up.
Yeah, this is a love letter from the ocean saying, if you would love to be killed, please go here. God,
But yeah, those are my weird animal facts, and I have just been absolutely buzzing to talk about the anglerfish thing, because I was like, what? And when you look at pictures of anglerfish now you're going to look at them and go, oh, that's her boyfriend, or
okay,
oh, that's her
gotcha.
that's her harem of boys attached to her.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Interesting. Wow, that's a really cool topic. Thank you for all those cool animal facts.
Thank you. And I highly recommend, if you're feeling very stressed and you need a distraction, just literally Google the phrase weird animal facts. You're going to find some delightful stuff.
You must, I imagine.
Yeah.
Well, today, one of the things I want to talk about is animal facts about one particular animal. And this animal's name is Diesel. Diesel the donkey. Have you ever heard of Diesel the donkey?
I am not, but I am so excited to learn
yeah.
about Diesel the donkey.
I love Diesel. Diesel has gone through the closest that a donkey can go through to a hero's journey. Diesel the donkey was born in the wilds of California in 2016. Born in the wild, a wild donkey. He was
What?
Yeah. Diesel the donkey was originally a wild donkey. He was born around 2016,
I'm already enthralled.
I don't have details on how or why that happened, but he did not have a previous owner or anything like that. This is a wild born donkey. Roughly in 2016, they estimate he was born. He was captured in a remote region of Nevada during a roundup by the Bureau of Land Management. I don't really know why they were doing a roundup, but they just do those occasionally, I think for population control and stuff like that. But then some of these animals, like Diesel, for example, get adopted. And so Diesel was adopted by Terry and Dave Drury, who live in California, in Auburn, California, in 2018. And he's a great donkey, very lovable, very friendly. He lived on the ranch alongside chickens, sheep, llamas, and another donkey, a miniature donkey named Jack. And Diesel was very smart. He would respond to his name. He was very, very smart. He enjoyed treats, carrots, apples, unsalted peanuts, and horse cookies, which are a thing I'm unfamiliar with, but you probably are familiar with, of horse cookies. Terry Drury, one of the people that adopted him, indicated that Diesel was not aggressive, saying he's a lover. Now, everything's going great. This is one of their beloved pets. They love Diesel so much, and they take very good care of him. April 20th, 2019, Diesel accompanied Dave Drury and a black llama on a weekend trail packing excursion in the Cache Creek Wilderness near the Judge Davis Trail by Wilson Flat out in California. Basically, it's this big, really cool wilderness area in California, but it's a bit remote. During their hike, something, most people say it's a mountain lion, spooked Diesel and he bolted.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so Dave believes it was a mountain lion that spooked him, essentially, that was like stalking the group of them. And Diesel got scared and bolted. He dragged Drury through the bush because Drury was riding him. Yeah. Diesel's blue saddlebags were still attached when he ran off, apparently. Most people, it was kind of speculated that it was a mountain lion because that seemed like the most likely thing.
Yeah.
But they don't know for certain. Several weeks of intensive search by the Drury family, neighbors, the community, people out searching for Diesel. They love Diesel. They need to bring him back home. After several weeks, there's actually an organization called SWARM, SWARM, Search and Rescue, that helps search for lost cattle and pets and things like that in rural areas. Really cool organization, by the way. They used aerial drones and they used horses in the search and all kinds of stuff, but they were unable to locate the donkey, Mr. Diesel. A while later, May 9th, they saw Diesel in an image from a trail camera near that Judge Davis trailhead, and hoof prints were discovered that were believed to belong to Diesel. And this is a while later, so he's surviving out in the wilderness by himself.
Because he already knows how.
He knows how. Following Diesel's disappearance, there were no sightings of him for 4 years.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's like recently.
Yeah. He resurfaced in 2023 when, I apologize, I think it's either Max Rhodes or Mickey Rhodes. I've seen two different sources say either Max or Mickey. One might be a nickname. I'm unsure. This guy, Mickey, their pronouns are he, him. They were out hunting and they saw a herd of elk. And they noticed it was being led by a donkey. And they thought it was just an odd thing. They were like...
Diesel had made himself the leader of a herd of elk?
Yes. And it seemed like he was the leader because anytime he would move, the elk herd would follow his movements and like go after him. And while this hunter was looking around and like going like, what is going on? This donkey is leading a herd of elk? This is wild. And on camera, you can see Diesel looking in the direction of the hunter guy, and all of the elk turn and look in the same direction as well. And they're all like watching him. And then eventually Diesel turns around and walks away, and all the elk follow suit and they start walking away. And he posts this video online and it circulates on social media.
Diesel's parents.
And of course, Diesel's parents see this video. Terry Drury, specifically, is the one who first saw it, positively identified him as Diesel. Oh my god, I imagine her
being like, that's my boy!
Exactly. She said, finally, we know he's safe, we know he's good, he's living his best life, he's healthy, he's happy, and it was just a relief, is what she had to say. There are no plans to recapture Diesel. Essentially, the Drury family has come out and said he's earned his freedom at this point. Recently, a game, I think it was either a game warden or a forest ranger or something like that, was out investigating, some reports of seeing a mountain lion in an area near a trail, basically. And they found a dead mountain lion that had been stomped to death by a hooved animal.
Okay.
Most believed to be Diesel the donkey.
Okay, so when you said Diesel was leading that herd of elk, my brain immediately he went donkey mode and stomped the shit out of something. Because
Absolutely.
Donkeys are usually sweethearts, but if they feel threatened, they will kick you in a heartbeat. They will kick anything. They're like, don't fuck with me. I know Diesel took care of business, and those elk were like, yes, you're our leader now.
Right, exactly. Diesel, originally having most likely been spooked by a mountain lion and ran off into the wilderness, got revenge and is now defending his newfound family of elk with his powerful, strong hooves.
He's like,
and
y'all
beating the shit out of a mountain lion.
He's like, y'all are some weird donkeys, but I love you.
Yeah, like it's just such a good story. At this point, Diesel, I believe, would be either 8, 9, or 10 years old. I'm bad at math, and not quite sure. Diesel is donkey. Donkeys can live up to 40 years.
Yep.
And generally about 25 out in the wild. So Diesel's going to be out there protecting his family for a long, long time. And I think that's just such a beautiful thing.
I love Diesel.
You go, Diesel. You're a good donkey.
What a good dog.
He's the hero we need.
He's the hero those elk need, for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. The mountain lions are out here to fuck them up, and Diesel said, "Go ahead, fucking try it."
Fucking try it. And that's probably when that hunter, he saw that hunter, he's like, "Hey, bud, do you want to know what I did to a mountain lion?"
Right? Exactly.
I'm not afraid of you. I know what you are.
So yeah, I've been so excited to tell you about Diesel the donkey. The closer we got to this episode, I was like,
"Yo, she
Brianne's
really was."
So
she
jazzed.
came in my room. She's like, "Can I tell you what my Infodumpies is about?" And I'm like, "I don't know. You might want to save it." She's like, "Can I at least tell you the title?"
Diesel the donkey, spirit of the California wilderness, in my opinion.
I love him. You should draw him as a little forestry mascot.
Oh, that would be lovely. Yeah. Like an a mountain lion safety mascot.
Yeah.
So
how to protect yourself. Get your strong, powerful hooves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And kick them until they stop moving. And hey, this is a little Diesel tip for you. It works for anything that moves. But yeah, so a couple extra little fun facts. Apparently, I say fun fact, apparently donkeys are considered an invasive species in California.
Oh, weird.
Which
I had no idea.
Yeah.
So
I had no idea
someone
either.
lost some donkeys at some point, and those donkeys fucked profusely.
It sounds like it, yeah. Even as recent as June 2024, like literally about a month ago is when they finally found him. This is very recent news. This is when they found him living his best life and the video started circulating. And shortly thereafter is when they found the mountain lion carcass that he presumably beat to death. Diesel is the elk Batman.
He is.
Yeah.
I love him.
What's your next topic?
So my next topic was spurred by a question I had as someone who's been making podcasts for like 4 years and has listened to them for a very, very long time. I realized I didn't know what the first podcast was.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I thought surely there must be a first one, and then I immediately got annoyed because when I looked up first podcast in the world, someone named their podcast First Podcast in the World.
Oh.
Probably for the SEO, and it muddied up.
Don't do that, y'all.
Yeah, no, it muddied up my search, and I was like, I'm sure you're probably pretty nice people, but I'm extremely annoyed right now.
Yeah.
But I dug through things to find out the first podcast, and I was kind of surprised at the origins and surprised that I was a very early adopter of podcasts, and I didn't even realize it. So most people seem to agree that the podcast as we know it was invented by former MTV VJ, and for the Gen Z out there, that is video jockey, and that is a person who used to be on MTV going, that was a great one from 98 Degrees. Up next, Cisco's Thong Song. And then it would be like, they just tell you what was going to come on next. And then later, we have Sixpence None the Richer, or like whatever the fuck.
God. I felt like I was in the moment. I was in the 90s for a second when you were saying that.
Right. I watched a lot of MTV after school. I would get one of those little single pack things of Oreos and a Sunny Delight, and I would watch TRL.
Absolutely. That's a good time every day.
So Adam Curry, the MTV VJ, created the podcast with his friend who is a software developer named Dave Weiner. The friends had this newfangled device called an iPod. It was 2001. Both of these people were big fans of internet radio broadcasts, which were a thing people were doing. And they didn't have a way to get these radio broadcasts to play on their iPods. And the thing they really wanted was to be able to say, okay, I'm going to be out and about. Let me get these different episodes of these radio broadcasts and put them on my iPod and go listen to them, which to us today is like, well, yeah, of course, on your iPhone now, of course you're going to listen to podcasts. But back then, all that you had on your iPod, on your MP3 player, were a few hundred songs And that was about
if
it.
that.
Yeah, if that, right? They really wanted a way to be able to download to their iPods so they could listen to stuff. And in 2003, Weiner developed an RSS feed for public radio host Christopher Linden, who used the feed to post certain audio interviews he conducted on his blog.
Okay. I see where we're going with this.
Yeah, so like the RSS feed had already existed. I was looking this up because the way it was worded, I was like, I don't think the RSS feed was just invented in 2003. And it seems like it was invented in 1999, I found by someone else entirely, but it seems like Weiner is the first person who said, what if I use this to integrate audio to update on this person's blog in this feed?
Gotcha. Okay.
Like it hadn't been used in a sort of radio broadcast format like that before, where the new episodes would pop up on this feed and land on the blog for this person, right?
Interesting.
After doing that, the audio interviews were so well received on the blog that when Linden went to BloggerCon, he was passing out physical tapes of the interviews from his blog, from that feed, because people enjoyed them so much and wanted the interviews to keep and listen to again for themselves, but again, lacked a way to, I don't know, download all that and like carry it, listen to it on the go.
At some point, if you'd like, do you know what an RSS feed is? Because I could briefly interject and explain that if you like.
I saw some of what it was, and then I was getting a headache, and I'm just like, it's an updated feed that that you can update and give to different people.
Yeah. It stands for really simple syndication, and it's basically just a system to aggregate all of the data about a thing that you're trying to distribute into a single XML file, which is something that can be easily read by a computer, and then it just sends out that file and it updates all the relevant aspects with that one file.
Yes, I understood all of that in all of those words. I'm not lying.
Good job. I'm proud of you.
I am lying. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
But yeah, after the success of how well those interviews were received and the interest for more people to just have access to them, Weiner and Curry developed a platform called iPodder. IPODDER.
That's a terrible name.
But it was in 2004, and if you think about things in context of 2004...
Yeah, I get it.
But on this site, people could directly download the internet radio broadcasts they wanted to put on their iPods. So this took those feeds, and then it turned it from that VMX file
close enough
into the MP3s for their iPods they could download.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, it took it from like a full syndicated thing to you're just getting the audio. That's the important part.
Yeah, you're getting the audio. You can download it to your iTunes as though it were a song, and then put it on your iPod.
Yeah, I see. Okay, yeah, that's the difference there, because an XML file at the time is something that an iPod wouldn't I don't think would really know what to do with.
Yeah, and that was the whole issue, because they're like, okay, we have this on an RSS feed, but we have no way of putting that on an iPod. So iPodder's job was to make it into something someone could download and put on their iPod. So for the first time, people are getting these internet radio broadcasts, downloading them and listening to them on their iPods.
Hell yeah.
Just 3 years after they were invented, people were like, I found a way to do it, which I think is pretty remarkable.
Amazing. Absolutely.
The broadcasts were very soon referred to as podcasts. They were named after the device that was being used to play them, and Apple had nothing to do with it. I always thought that Apple had something to do with why it was called podcast, like they directly influenced that, you know what I mean?
It makes sense, because they like to put pod in anything. Pod was like a huge buzzword at the time.
Yeah, well, that was their thing. It was the iPod. They had their whole line of iPods, and if it had pod on it, you just kind of thought, or I in front of it. So
yeah. Oh my God, that was such a huge thing.
Yeah, so the site
at the time, people putting I in front of everything.
Right? So it was the iPodder on your iMac, on your iPod. So I always thought Apple had something to do with it being named that directly, but no, it was actually coined by Guardian columnist Ben Hammersley, and Curry, one of the creators of iPodder, adored the name, and he began to use it himself and kind of champion that as the term.
It's really clever. It's a perfect portmanteau of broadcast and iPod.
Right? Yeah. It's the perfect name.
Yeah.
So in 2004 is when the first podcast hosting platform was also born, which still exists today. It's called Libsyn, which is short.
I've heard of them.
Which is a portmanteau for Liberated Syndication.
Oh my God, that makes total sense.
And the idea was to give
that follows along with RSS.
And that's the idea, to give the common person the ability to very easily update an RSS feed. And
I love it. The name. Listen, everyone involved with this, good job on the naming shit, right. Except for iPodder.
But yeah, so this was the first time that the average person could update their RSS feed, distribute it to wherever they needed to. Like, we use Buzzsprout, and I'm bad at pewters, and I can figure out everything pretty intuitively on there. And they're made to lower that access. The entry point's a lot lower now because you don't have to be a tech genius to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So
that's such a good development. It's like, at the time, that is such a forward-thinking thing to realize, we need to get this
really
separated.
Democratize the ability to do your own broadcasts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which another topic I want to get into later is that autistic people were actually really integral to democratizing early radio broadcast by offering very cheaper technological alternatives to broadcasting stuff. And I have a history of broadcast something in my head that's not quite a full episode yet that I want to do. In 2005, Steve Jobs rolled podcast subscriptions directly into the iTunes software. So now, for younger folks, iTunes used to be the thing you would go to for your Apple anything library, movies, TV shows, music, and then suddenly one day there was a podcast tab.
You know, say what you will about Apple and Steve Jobs. I know Steve Jobs notoriously was really hard to work under, but damn if he did not really have a good eye for what is going to be a thing in the future, you know?
Yeah, no, I think there's been very little ingenuity in their technology and very little valuable stuff since he died. Like, they are inherently an unethical company, and I think everyone listening knows that, and I'm not loving them for their role in cobalt mining and like all that other stuff. But yeah, no, it was absolutely forward thinking to see, no, people are really going to care about this later. This is a thing I need to get in on right now.
Yeah, from like, I could do a whole episode on the iPhone release and the effect that it had on the world, like the release of the iPhone. Holy shit. Like, I obviously a lot of gripes about Apple as a company and Steve Jobs as a person, but like, it's one of those times where it's like, I have to respect his ability to be forward thinking and his foresight. Like,
do you know what I remember?
Damn, he was really good at it.
From them announcing the first iPhone?
What's that?
That one of the albums they used as an example for what you could play on your phone was the Black Parade.
Yep, I remember that as well.
You remember that?
I remember
my teenage brain. I was like, the advertising worked. I could listen to My Chem on my phone. And my mom was like, girl, you're lucky you have a flip phone. Just look away and keep walking. And I don't think I got a smartphone until like 2012.
Yeah, but the demonstration of the iPhone, like going from the iPod to the iPhone and the demonstration, the release of that, I firmly believe changed the face of the earth.
So yeah, when he didn't personally, but when Apple added the podcast subscriptions tab to iTunes, that's when podcasts stopped becoming a niche hobby. Like, it used to be considered a niche hobby, and it just started picking up steam to become mainstream from there. In 2005 and 2006 is about when I started listening to podcasts. Because I saw that tab, and I was like, what's all this? And I was like, oh, they just have shows about anything. And then, of course, I looked up fandoms I was in and saw, before there was even a name for it, fan casts for different shows I like.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, I can listen to some people talk about Star Trek or Stargate or Buffy or this. And I would take a long time to download a few episodes of a podcast onto my iPod. And I guess I was a very early adopter of podcasts.
That's really interesting. I was a super late adopter to podcasts, believe it or not. I didn't start listening to podcasts until like 2018.
Which I could do another episode on, because most people were later adopters, really, and it wasn't as big of a deal. Serial actually was the first podcast to like surpass that 5 million download thing, and I think that was like,
I believe it.
That was like 2013 or 2014 or something. So when it truly became commonplace was not that long ago.
Yeah, and Serial was actually, I believe, one of the first podcasts I listened to.
That is true for a lot of people. That opened the door to them to go, oh, this medium actually has a lot of interesting things going on. I haven't paid attention to this.
Exactly, yeah.
So now we get to, what was the first podcast? Because that was the question I first had, and I hadn't answered it yet. There are two answers.
Oh.
So technically, if you want to get technical, Radio Open Source by Christopher Linden on that blog, since it was the first audio interview show to get regularly broadcast on an RSS feed and distributed that way. Some people would argue that that first RSS feed that was Weiner created for Linden constitutes the first podcast.
I would agree with that.
But some might argue the term podcast didn't actually exist, and it was not something that was originally created to be distributed like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
and it wasn't immediately on iPodder and available for someone to listen on their iPod and that kind of stuff. Some people are saying, well, it doesn't quite meet the definition. So if you are of the camp where you say, yeah, I don't think that was a podcast, then after iPodder was created, Curry began the first true podcast called Daily Source Code, and it was about Curry's life, podcasting, news, and they even played some music.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, that's really awesome. And like I'm firmly in the camp that prior podcast, that RSS feed is definitely a podcast, because it is in the form of a podcast, and just because they didn't call it a podcast.
Yeah, but people still weren't able to download it like you would a podcast to go listen on their iPod until a couple years later when iPodder popped up.
Yeah, but like, so prior to that, I believe RSS feeds were mostly text-based, right?
That's from what I understand, yes.
Essentially, this is the first time that people said, hey, I'm going to conduct entertainment in an audio medium and distribute it over the internet.
But they were already doing online radio stuff like that. It just wasn't easily distributed.
Oh, well.
The online.
But that was all live, though, right?
What?
This is the first time that it wasn't like a live online radio, though, right?
Well, they also would record. If they recorded it live, someone could go back and listen to the audio of what they already did, and that was the issue that Curry and Weiner. Curry and Weiner wanted a way to be able to accumulate those as something they could take and listen to elsewhere.
Right.
So yeah, it depends. Right. Yeah, it's one or the other. I was just satisfied to learn what the first two were.
That makes sense. Okay, cool. You ready for my second thing?
Yeah, what you got for me?
Close your eyes. Just close your eyes. Now imagine.
Okay, listener, don't do this if you're driving.
You can close one eye if you're driving, but no more than that.
No, don't close either of them. Don't listen to her. I'm closing my eyes.
Okay. If you're not closing your eyes, just kind of disassociate a little bit and listen very carefully to the words. Not while
you're driving.
All right, not while you're driving. Imagine you are 1,732 miles from the nearest major civilization.
Okay.
You are in the most remote but still inhabited, I should say, part of the world. Would you like to know where you are?
Can I take a guess?
Go for it.
The Amazon rainforest?
Not even close.
No?
Not even close. Now, you're still on the mainland at that point, right? There's still like life on the surface. Like if you're looking for other humans in the Amazon rainforest, you're like maybe 300-400 miles from a civilization. Plus, there's native tribes and things in the Amazon rainforest that live there.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of like.
So you are, if you are standing on this island, aside from the other people on this island.
I'm bad with miles, really.
That's fair.
Is the problem. It's like, oh, that's only 300 or 400 miles? Okay.
For the viewers at home, you are standing on this island, aside from the other people on this island.
It's an island.
In this case, it's an island, yes.
Okay.
Basically, aside from the people immediately around you, there is no other, like, people or land for people to live on within, I think the smallest, like, shortest distance to anywhere, be even another island, is 1,514 miles, which is so far.
Yeah.
Like, when you consider...
I'm going to say it's like some little island I didn't know off the coast of Greenland or something.
Essentially, yes, but not Greenland. So, in the South Atlantic Ocean, 1,514 miles from St. Helena, and 1,732 miles from mainland South Africa, Cape Town, we have Tristan da Cunha, or Cunha. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Portuguese. But it's TristandaCunha. And this is colloquially known as Tristan. It is a remote little cluster of 3 volcanic islands in the South Atlantic Ocean. It is the most remote inhabited island or archipelago in the world.
Whoa.
Yeah. People live there. They have internet. They can order on Amazon. It's wild. So it's an inhabited island. There are people that live there. There is only one town on the island, colloquially known as the village.
Oh, that sounds menacing.
It's the only place flat enough to have anyone live there.
Oh.
It's called, officially, Edinburgh of the Seven Seas.
Whoa.
And like I said, Edinburgh of the Seven Seas. And the locals just call it the village, because it's the only one for
and the other
miles.
The other is a mouthful.
Yeah. So it has a very, very small population. As of October 2018, the island has 250 permanent inhabitants.
Whoa.
They all have British Overseas Territories citizenship. So there's a whole special type of citizenship for, like, I'm a citizen of the British Overseas Territories.
Colonized islands.
Yep, basically. The other islands are uninhabited, although one of the other... So there's 3 islands. Technically there's 4 islands, but one of them just doesn't get mentioned very much for some reason. Let me rephrase that. One of them is so small, it's kind of considered like a sister island to one of the other islands. So there's Tristan da Cunha, which is the main island. There is Inaccessible Island, which is one of the 3 main islands. And then there's Nightingale Island, which has a very tiny little other island next to it called Gough Island, Gough.
Interesting.
Yeah. And Gough Island has a tiny little weather station from South Africa on it.
Wow.
There are a max of 6 people from South Africa manning that weather station at any given time. There is no airstrip on the main island.
I was gonna ask.
The only way you can get in and out of Tristan is by a 6-day ship from South Africa.
Holy shit.
That's how far away you are from anything. Yeah.
So if they want to go on a vacation somewhere, they need 2 weeks just to get back from South Africa, like to and from South Africa.
Yeah. And remember where I said they have internet and they can order things online?
Oh, so for them, it's like, that'll be 6 to 9 months.
Probably. Like, honestly, I have no idea how any of that works. I tried to do some research, and I found some interviews and watched them, but like a lot of these people are mainly just talking about what life is like on the island, and it's not too much into the nitty gritty, but I'm so curious, like, how much to shipping? If you have Amazon Prime, do you still get free shipping? Like, how does that work? The islands were first recorded as sighted in 1506 by Portuguese explorer Tristão da Cunha. I don't know. I don't speak Portuguese. I'm sorry if I'm butchering it. The rough seas around the area prevented him from landing, but he did name it after himself, Ilha de Tristão da Cunha. But it was later anglicized from British people colonizing it. So the first permanent settler was Jonathan Lambert from Salem, Massachusetts in the United States.
Whoa.
He moved to the island in December 1810 with 2 other men to be later joined by a fourth.
Gay?
At the time, I honestly, I feel like I don't want to diagnose somebody, but would you go to one of the most remote islands in the world? By the way, one of the things I'm going to talk about briefly is the actual most remote landmass in the world, which is not this island, believe it or not. There's someplace more remote that you could theoretically go. Lambert publicly declared the islands his property and named them the Islands of Refreshment. 2 years later,
brought to you by
3 of the 4 men died.
Oh my god. How refreshing.
The last remaining survivor, Thomas Curry from Italy, was one of the original 3 people that originally came. He remained as a farmer on the island.
He said, I'm built
eventually
different.
Exactly. In 1816, the UK annexed the islands, as they tend to do, and then it became, property of them, but they were made a dependency of the Cape Colony in South Africa. I don't fully understand how those dependency things
It's
work.
all colonizer
but it's
shit.
basically
It's whatever.
Yeah, it's like an agreement that it's like the UK saying, we own it, but because we're not that close to it, we're going to let you take care of it and give you some money for doing that. I think that's what I think is happening. Anyway, that's where the settlement first came to be. Eventually it became known as Edinburgh of the Seven Seas. More people moved there, and I feel like the people there are clearly people that don't want to interact with randos on the daily, which I super respect. It's so remote. Just for example, so World War I ended in 1918. There were no ships that went to the island from 1909 to 1919 until the HMS Yarmouth stopped to just let them know, by the way, what the outcome of World War I was. So it is fucking remote. I'm going to fast forward over some of the boring stuff. Is just not super interesting because this is a mini dump. Do you remember the part where I said it's a volcanic island?
Oh no.
Oh no. On October 10th, 1961, the eruption of something called a parasitic cone. It's some volcanic thing. I'm not familiar. The mountain that's on the island is called Queen Mary's Peak, and it is very close to Edinburgh of the Seven Seas because imagine it's just this mountain, and there's a flat spot where the town is, and that's it. There's the town, there's a whole set of potato patches, and the mountain.
This would be a nightmare place for me to live.
Really?
I think with climate change and my constant concern about oh no, climate change is happening and living on a tiny island like that with a volcano that could bust at any time, and I have nowhere else to go except somewhere by boat.
6
days by boat if something's going wrong.
And it's going to take them 6 days to get there if you don't have a working boat.
This place sounds like, I feel like it would make me, I feel like this place would make me claustrophobic, if that makes sense.
If it helps, it's beautiful.
It wouldn't. It would be just gorgeous. To me, it would feel like a beautiful prison cell.
That's fair. That's fair. I could get
like, if something goes wrong, I have nowhere to go.
I'd be like 2 days in, I'd be putting my palm print on a beach ball and calling it Wilson. Like, I'd be fucked up. I wouldn't be able to live there.
If I had an easy way to leave, I think I would love it.
But like, what could it possibly be? Like, there's no room for an airstrip.
I could fly, Violet.
Helicopter would run out of fuel.
I could fly in this equation.
If you could fly. I wish there was just like a teleporter.
Yeah. But knowing me, that would make it worth it. The volcano would be about to erupt, and I would have forgotten to charge my teleporter because I was trying to charge my I was charging my headphones with that cord, and I wouldn't be able to get out in time. That's what would happen.
Well, I will say though, there is 2 other major islands nearby that you could evacuate to. In theory, they're just not. There's nothing on them. There's penguins and seals.
Okay, cool. Sign me up. My tune has changed.
Hell yeah!
I'll go hang out with the penguins. I'm good.
Actually, I'm not sure about the penguins.
Okay, well, this is false advertising.
I'm sorry. There's for sure, there's seals. There's little fuzzy seals for sure. Okay. I've seen pictures. There was an oil spill at one point, and there's pictures of the residents cleaning oil from penguins, which is where I get the penguins. I'm just not sure how many penguins there are or how frequently.
Just one really cool penguin would be enough to keep my attention, really.
Yeah. Oh, one really cool penguin? You hold on. I got something for you here in just a little bit. I got one real cool penguin for you. Don't you worry. this place ain't doing it for you, I got some place that just might. So hang on. Volcanic eruption, right? 1961. The eruption happens, Queen Mary's Peak, very close to Edinburgh of the Seven Seas, forced the immediate evacuation of all 264 people. They took to the water in open boats, local lobster fishing boats, and there's like a couple of those, and then they all fled to Nightingale Island, which was uninhabited. They basically just stayed on the boat for a day, and then they were picked up eventually by a Dutch passenger ship that took them to Cape Town until they were able to return. Thankfully, the city actually survived. There were obviously there was damages, but like the majority of the city, the majority of the village survived, which is really amazing. It's a beautiful place. You can actually, there's pictures of it from the International Space Station, and it just looks like a little tiny mountain in the middle of the ocean. If you ever get a chance to see the pictures of it online, Google Edinburgh of the Seven Seas. It's such a beautiful place, and you can actually see where the eruption, the lava flow from the 1961 eruption changed the geography of the island, which I think is really cool.
I'm looking at pictures right now. They have a cute sign that says, "Welcome to the remotest island."
Here's the thing, though. They're not the remotest island. They do have a website, so, you know, how remote could they really be? It's tristandc.com. If you're curious, they have tons of cool pictures there. Let's say you want to go somewhere that is the most remote place in the world. You want to get as far away from any other human as possible without going to the International Space Station.
Yeah.
Yeah? You want to go to Bouvet Island.
And where is that?
Bouvet Island is an island in the Atlantic Ocean, the South Atlantic Ocean, at the southern end of the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. It is the world's most remote island, and it is so far out of the way of anything. It is not covered by the Antarctic Treaty System, but it is essentially considered a dependency of Norway. So Norway is the one who looks after it, right?
Ooh, I looked up pictures of Bouvet Island, and there's something I need to look up later, which is called "Mystery of the Boat in Bouvet Island." That's the title of one of the pictures. It looks spooky.
Cool.
It looks like they'd show you this. They're like, "The ancient chalice is held on one of the darkest, most demonic islands there is, guarded by a creature beyond your comprehension." And you just get an aerial shot of the wind whipping around an island menacingly, and it looks cold. That's what Bouvet Island looks like.
Bouvet Island has actually been featured in some pop culture stuff, interestingly enough. And like there's a lot of lore about it.
It feels like there's a lost episode of the X-Files talking about something they found at Bouvet Island. You know what I mean? It's just begging.
You
really?
are so... Yeah, you're so close to something. So there's an extremely popular pop culture thing that is set on Bouvet Island. Can you guess what it is? It is if I said it, you would immediately know.
Oh my god, was the thing set on Bouvet Island?
No.
It's been forever since I've seen it.
You're in the right direction.
Oh god. So older horror movie is probably it?
Yeah, you're in the right direction.
Fuck.
I don't know if you're going to guess it. So
yeah, go ahead.
Would you like me to tell you? Alien versus Predator.
Oh my god. Whoever wins, we both lose.
They detect a heat signature on Bouvet Island. The Predator ship, I'm getting all mixed up, but yeah, the Predator ship detects like a heat signature from Bouvet Island or something like that. But it's a very cold place, and they detect heat in the movie, and it's a whole thing.
Very cool.
Which I think is really cool.
I already wanted to do an Alien rewatch because the Alien Romulus is coming out soon, and I usually skip the Alien versus Predator stuff, but I might have to actually include that in my rewatch leading up to Romulus.
Yeah, hell yeah, I think that would be cool. But yeah, no, when I learned that it was the setting of Alien versus Predator, I was like, what are the fucking odds? That's wild. It's a really cool place. There's a ton of information about it. There's all kinds of like things that have happened, and like so much. It's been used in fiction and a bunch of times. There's books and things. It's a volcanic island, as most of these super remote islands are. They have a mascot.
Excuse me?
I'm sorry. I said mascot. That's not quite correct. They have a baron. Would you like to meet the Baron of the Bouvet Islands?
I don't know, maybe?
His name is Major General Sir Nils Olav III.
Oh.
And he is a king penguin in the Edinburgh Zoo.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey,
Nils Olav III, Baron of the Bouvet Islands.
that is the best name for a penguin.
It's the best thing.
I need to know
That is one of the
everything
reasons I was
about
so
him.
excited.
I am against royalty as a concept, except if it's a fucking penguin.
We're coming up on time, but like, there's so much. He has a whole Wikipedia page.
No,
There
yeah,
have
I
been
have
three.
to go learn about this guy.
Yeah. There have been 3 Nils Olavs. This is the third in the royal line of the Baron of the Bouvet Islands. So Nils Olav was initially given the rank of vice corporal in the regiment. He's been promoted each time the King's Guard has returned to the zoo. He keeps getting promoted, doing an amazing job. He was knighted in 2008. King Harald of the Fifth of Norway, Penguin Knight. Like,
That's amazing.
Yeah. Although, sorry, that was Nils Olav II. Nils Olav III, I don't know. I think he inherited the knighthood, essentially.
Well, he's still
But
he's still doing great.
2 more fun facts for you. Nils Olav is recognized by the Guinness World Records as the highest ranking penguin. And then last fun fact, and this is going to be a bit of a weird one. You know how we in the US, when we have a website, it's .com, but like British websites will be like .uk and stuff like that, and like Netherlands will be like .ind or something like that.
Yeah.
That's called a top level domain, and it's used to, it's kind of like a zip code for the internet. Bouvet Island has a top level domain.
Oh, why?
I don't know.
Why come?
It's not open for registration. You can't make a .bv website, but they have the .bv domain exists, and I think they made it in case someone moves there.
That's gonna be me. I'm gonna move to Bouvet Island, and I'm gonna have an alternate domain for my website. It'll be audhdbreed.bv.
There's a company called Norid, basically, that distributes Norwegian top level domains, and they're the ones in charge of it. There was at one point in 2015 a Norwegian computer scientist that part of the Socialist Left Party, hell yeah, proposed using the .bv domain along with another similar domain as an online kind of free haven, which kind of aimed to like protect both the Norwegian people and like government entities from surveillance by hosting outside of the traditional top level domain for Norway.
Well, cool.
So, yeah.
Thank you. I loved
Those
learning.
are the most remote places on Earth.
I loved learning about Tristan and Bouvet and the highest ranking penguin in the world.
Yeah. I just want to say his full title again because it feels so good to say. Major General Sir Nils Olav III, Baron of the Bouvet Islands.
Incredible.
Incredible. Incredible. Please look up a picture and honor him.
I have a mental picture of him right now that I know it's not going to match. I will look him up later, but he's the fanciest boy in the world.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, it's me with the housekeeping section. You know the deal if you want to support Mixed Nomer and Infodumpies and our other show, Today's Lucky Winner, which if you don't listen to that, you probably should. We put in a lot of hard work and I write it and I think you'd like it if you're into this. But anyways, if you want to support the weirdos who make the show you're listening to right now, the best way you can do that is to tell other people about the show. We don't pay for advertising and we don't take paid advertisements, so the way we grow is entirely by word of mouth. So if you want to post about the show in a group you're in, or tell your friend about it, force them to listen to it on a car ride, that would help us out a bunch, because that's how we get more people to listen and more people to support what we make. If you're in a place to support us monetarily, you can check out the show details to see the link to our Patreon page. The Mixed Nomer Patreon means that anything that we're working on now or we work on in the future, you're going to get bonus content of some kind from all the stuff we make. It changes depending on tiers, but the first tier is just $1 a month, and for that you get to join our Discord server where we do stuff like have a comic book club and play Jackbox games and do body doubling and have craft time, and it's really fun. We just share memes and stuff. It's nice. At certain tiers, you even get a shout out, like our friends Randy Lovings, Rachel Rachelson, Sewing Seraph, B. Trossler, Helen Clifford, M. Mosen, Lucy, Nicole Valdivieso, Natasha Neves, and Carl G. Brooks. If you want to see what Violet and I are up to on the internets when we're not doing Infodumpies, you can also check out the show details to find our social media handles. And I haven't mentioned it in a while, but if you are an AuDHD person who would like some support and help with things like routines and unmasking and thinking about, accommodations for work and stuff like that, make sure you check out the show details to go look at my website to see if peer support or coaching or some combo of the both with me sounds like it would be helpful for you. I try to keep things pretty accessible, so if you had tried to find someone to help with like ADHD coaching or something before and you're like, that's out of my budget or something, go check out my page. I have my rates posted so you don't have to. God, I fucking hate when people make you send an email just to ask how much it is, then you have to be like, no thank you, can't afford, and it just, I never want to reach out. But anyway, if you need coaching or peer support and you'd like to see if that is an option and it sounds like you'd like doing that with me, go check out my website. It's in the show details. AuDHDbreed.com. I think that's all I've got for y'all today, though, so clever sign off.